Hey there, people of the interwebs. My name is Brandon Noel. Originally, when I was drawing these pieces, I just thought I'd talk and work my way through as I was drawing and painting them. Unfortunately, I had the recorder set to the wrong video or wrong microphone. Had the wrong. So the audio is pretty much unusable. So now I'm having to re-record the audio of that, while I was drawing. So I believe here I just showed you a non-photo blue pencil. Non-photo blue is this incredible thing that I absolutely love. Over the last couple of years, I've fallen in love with it. It allows you to draw your understructure, your guidelines, everything you need to get going, and then when you scan it, if your scanner is set to black and white or line art, it doesn't pick up the blue. The blue line's non-reproducible. So it allows a lot of animators use a non-photo blue. A lot of comic book artists use non-photo blue. Originally, I couldn't. They would show you the circle with the 4 lines to draw a head, and I would always get confused because I couldn't figure out, once I started throwing lines on top of that, it just all looked messy and clunky, and I couldn't figure out how to draw and use the guidelines. Non-photo blue really helps me a lot and kind of changed me as an artist, really did. It's one of those things that, at some point an art instructor in art class should have showed me. I really believe that. I don't think I got the best art education from my community college. They didn't spend that much time on what the tools are and how to use them, and so as a result, I've been spending 9 years trying to figure out stuff I should have learned in art class that was never taught to me. Hey, community college, what are you going to do? So, non-photo blue, I really love it. I endorse it. I think every artist should play around with it. Will Eisner would do a really rough non-photo blue sketch to lay things out before he started penciling, and his pencils were really loose, and before he eventually ink. If you look at some of the Will Eisner original art that's still around. These are sketch covers. I'm doing videos of sketch covers. This is Hell Hydra, the Secret Wars. I have the book right here. I should look at it. Yeah, I picked up this sketch cover from my local comic book shop. Diggers Comics and Collectibles off of Harvard Street in Florida, in Hemet. Great shop. Ambrose, I love you. I used to drive all the way out to Palm Springs, if not further, to get sketch covers. I've gone to Franken and Sons. I've driven like 2, 3, 4 hours just for sketch covers. So it's nice to have a place in my backyard where I can go pick them up, or even have them order me some. This is Secret Wars, Hell Hydra, #1. I thought it would be funny to do Hogan's Heroes. I wasn't a big fan of like Nazi Cap. I forget who wrote that, but I think he meant well. It was just really poorly timed. Nick Spencer? Who was Nick Spencer? Currently writing Spider-Man. But yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Nazi Cap. You can't time. The timing was just so bad. Marvel's doing this crazy Nazi Captain America storyline at the same time, Charlottesville is going on with Nazi riots in the street, and people are being ran over, and the timing on that was just rough. I didn't even want to read the story. I really didn't, because I was just it didn't feel right to me. I probably should go back and give it a second glance now that we're removed a little bit from Charlottesville, but where these issues are ever prevalent in society right now. If you've looked at any of my political cartoons, I'm not a Trump supporter, and we have a president who it's not even a hidden recording, it's not even a gotcha moment, live on television, he called neo-Nazis very fine people. And this was years ago during the Charlottesville. In my opinion, that disqualifies him from office. It really does. And I've never, even talking to some of my conservative friends, I've never, how do you square that? He called neo-Nazis very fine people. I can't, I can't endorse that. But anyway, talking about the sketch cover, I thought it would be really funny to do this Hogan's Heroes kind of pinup piece. It's a show that I honestly haven't watched that much of. It always seemed like a weird concept to me from just a TV show standpoint. We're gonna set a quirky, goofy sitcom in 1942 in the middle of a POW World War II camp. I mean, God bless them, the show worked. But it always, I don't know who thought that was a good idea or why. Who came up with that concept, I have no idea. I like things that are kind of irreverent. And I like the attitude of Hogan's Heroes, the whole irreverent, kind of mindset. One of the things I absolutely love is sometimes I will just draw stuff and display them at conventions, just because I know it's going to make one guy laugh. Some guy's going to walk by, he's going to look over at my table, and he's going to just laugh hard. That's why I usually have a Jar Jar Binks on display, because it's not everyone's cup of tea, but there's one guy who's going to really laugh or really get it, and he's going to buy that as a gag gift for I've had that happen. I've had people come up to me like, how much for the Jar Jar? I have to have that for my father because it's a gag gift. And I love that. I love, that kind of fun stuff. I can't imagine there's very many Hogan's Heroes enthusiasts out there today going to comic book conventions. Honestly, I don't know how well this sketch is going to be received, because I do 90% of my business is at conventions. That's where I make my money, is going to conventions, selling my books, selling my art, talking to people. I never envisioned a world where I couldn't do that. I've been going to conventions since, professionally since 2009. Before that, I've always gone as a fan, and I love conventions. I absolutely love them. I love sitting at my table. I love watching giant Optimus Primes walk by. I love talking to the nerds, and I don't mean that disrespectfully because I am one, but I mean people, cosplayers, this is their character. They relate to Green Arrow so much that they're willing to wear spandex out in public, or and talking to him like, why does this character mean that much to you? What did he do? I know why these characters mean a lot to me. Being dyslexic, comic books were my gateway drug into literature. And I wouldn't be able to read today if it wasn't for the X-Men comics that my uncles picked up for me. So like I absolutely love comics and what they've done for me personally, and I love going out to conventions and talking to people like, why does this character mean so much? What about Batman Beyond means that much to you? And unfortunately, because of COVID-19, I haven't been able to do any conventions this year. I did one convention at the start of the year because I was running at my local show, and then that's it. Like, my whole year is shot, and it's weird because I would build my entire year around what conventions I'm going to and what shows I'm going to do, and Power Morphin Con and Toy Con, and all these really cool conventions, G.I. Joe expos, and I built my year around going to those shows, and this year is just shot. Like I don't know how I'm going to do that. So yeah, this whole year has just been weird for me, with not being able to really do any conventions. So it's just weird. So I'm having to switch focus and catch up with the rest of the artistic world, and kind of really put a focus on my Patreon, and really retool the website, some of that other stuff. I'm going to have to, hopefully by the time, if you're watching this, Patreon should be up and running. Link down below. The website's Destiny Comics with an X.com, and I need to really retool that thing. But hopefully, like I said, I have to switch focus and be more digitally minded, to just kind of still try to make some semblance of money off of the art that I've been putting out. But yeah, this is I loved conventions. I absolutely loved them. The camaraderie. The first time I went to a convention, I felt like I'm home. I really did. I felt like this is home. And I've been doing conventions since 2009, and one of the first conventions I ever went to, I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of my heroes and people I looked up to, and for the most part, they've all been really incredible and really nice. So I absolutely love comic book conventions. Going to comic book conventions for as long as I have has actually changed my opinion on a lot of things, and made me a better person. Because it's not about, because I might not like Babylon 5, let's say, but somebody who's at that convention has spent their whole life and because of Babylon 5. Like, Babylon 5 means the world to them, and they're just there for Babylon 5. And so you have to respect that passion, that fandom. It being a nerd because of the things that we do makes you more empathetic towards other people. Because whether it's writing, arts, or whatever, you reading. There's studies that reading fiction helps you to empathize with other people, because you're reading a book from a different character's perspective, and I think that's incredibly important. And so again, I just love conventions. I love the convention circuit, and this year I'm just kind of lost without being able to do that. Not only see my friends, see my artist buddies, but see, the people that I love. Families come up with strollers and they talk. They buy books or they don't. Either way, I've spent some time, just talking to that person, and I miss that. I really do. And so again, I'm really pushing the Patreon to try to, get as much of that digitally as I can. And I'm still, with the sketch covers, I'm what I'm doing here is a little less watercolor, because this is all ink. This is ink and colored ink. Because with the watercolors, it can warp the covers, and I love painting in watercolors, and I still probably do a little bit of that on the sketch covers. But just this is all ink. This is I come at my art from more of a painterly background. It's what I've spent more time training in, and a little bit more what I'm more comfortable with. But comic books at their core are always going to be a ink format, because no matter what you create the art in, whether it's digital or you're painting or whatever, a fully rendered book, it gets printed in ink. Comic books are always a ink format, unless we go completely digital, which I don't want to see that, because I think there's something to going to that local comic book store and that, again, that camaraderie. I used to go to, there's All American Comics off of Florida, and it was, they had an X-Men cabinet in the corner, the arcade game, and I spent many an hour and many a quarter just trying to save the world. And I can honestly say I never saved the world. That game is hard, but I absolutely love that game. One Up Arcade, I really want them to, because they released last year the 4-player Turtles version of that cabinet. I want that giant X-Men, cabinet, because I spent a good hunk of my childhood trying to save the world from Magneto and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants in the back of a comic book shop. So I'm sad to say they don't, I don't have that, but one of the reasons why I tend to paint older movie properties is because it's fun. It's nostalgic. It's, I did a giant painting of I Dream of Jeannie. Gonna be working on some other cool TV stuff, and so Hogan's Heroes is just an extension of that. It's not a show I watched all that much. I was much more of a Gilligan's Island fan, or I Love Lucy. There was a point where I'd seen every episode of I Love Lucy multiple times. Rerun after rerun after rerun. And, Hogan's Heroes was just one of those shows that wasn't on as much in the reruns that I got. Like, I don't think Nick at Night ever played it. Maybe because I don't know why they never ran Hogan's Heroes. Not that I know of. But it's just one of those shows that I wasn't exposed to as often. I definitely prefer some of the other shows that Nick at Night ran. Happy Days. Oh, I spent a lot of, all the kids, because we were talking about Happy Days in like the 5th grade. Like, all the kids we all were staying up late to watch Nick at Night, and so as a result, there's a good hunk of people in my generation who know about the Munsters, know about Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie. We grew up with the Mary Tyler Moore Show. These were shows that were off the air before we were even born. And nowadays at Nick at Night, you have Classic TV or Boomerang, all those different networks. So it doesn't mean as much. But also, when I was a kid, you couldn't watch whatever you wanted to watch. TV was programmed by a programmer, and you had to watch whatever they had the licensing to or whatever. So that's kind of gone with streaming, and I can just put on whatever show I want whenever I want, within reason. So as a kid, I was the whims of the the programming or the network execs, and so you were lucky to get some of these older shows. Again, Hogan's Heroes is just something I've never watched all that much of. It always felt like a weird show to me, just the concept. Because when the show came out, we were 20 years removed from the Holocaust, removed from World War II, and there they were, a sitcom set in a POW camp. It was wow. I don't think the actual horrors of that war set in culturally for another 20, 30 years. We're still dealing with the horrors of that war and the repercussions of it. And I think it was a natural reflex to just kind of try to make fun of it, to try to make fun of the horror as a way of dealing with it. And Hogan's Heroes worked. I think it worked. Mel Brooks is also the same kind of. I love Mel Brooks. The same kind of concept of I'm just going to poke fun at them. I'm not going to treat the Nazis with any kind of dignity or respect because they don't deserve it, and we're just going to make fun of them. And I love Mel Brooks with a passion because of not only his attitude like that, but A, his work ethic, and B, the stuff that he produced and directed. I'm a Mel Brooks. I absolutely love Mel Brooks. My favorite Mel Brooks movie is To Be or Not to Be, which is apparently it's a remake of an older movie which I haven't seen, but it's just Mel Brooks taking on the Nazi regime full force, and he would recycle a lot of those same jokes later on in The Producers and some of his other works. Those jokes would pop up. So, but if you're a fan of Hogan's Heroes, I recommend you watching and To Be or Not to Be. My wife and I, we love old TV shows and sitcoms, and not necessarily old TV shows, but a lot of old movies. And we're sitting there the other night trying to figure out what we're going to watch, and a lot of old movies, have Nazis as the bad guys. She's like, that's got Nazis. That's got Nazis. That's got Nazis. Frank Sinatra versus Nazis. Such and such versus Nazis. The very first radio episode of Archie has him, the radio show Archie, based off the Archie comics, has him going up against Nazis. It's not uncommon for even Archie to face, Nazis. So I don't know why, for the longest time, the only villains you could kill in a video game were Nazis or robots or aliens. That was, you can get away with killing Nazis, robots, and aliens. Even the aliens is speculative because they could be a sentient being and you can't really show up, but you can smash, even on Saturday morning cartoons, you can smash the crud out of a robot. Or it's okay to show a Nazi falling to his death because, they're Nazis. They are evil. And once again, we had a president who said what he said about Nazis, neo-Nazis. They're very fine people, and I can't accept that. I've never been able to accept that. So the whole hell Hydra thing, the evil Nazi Cap, it's just a comic book. They've brainwashed them or turned them into, evil Cap has been around before. And I'm sure he'll come back at one point or another. But it was just poorly timed story. I'm just rambling at this point. Again, this isn't paint. This is colored ink with pigment. So yeah, you can always turn the book upside down so that the ink's not going to run into what you've already rendered. Never be afraid to turn or flip the page. It just seems obvious, but there was a while when I wouldn't want to do that because I'm working here and then working there, and it's like, no, you can just flip it and it doesn't hurt anything as long as the other stuff below is already dried. Oh, gone. Yeah. So this is all colored ink. When I do Inktober, I like to try to throw some color ink in there because everyone's black and white. But it's like I got a bunch of color ink and I dig it. Dig it. So this is, this was one of my favorite pieces. I really hope to show this off at a convention someday soon, but honestly, I'm probably not going to do another convention for another year with COVID. I'm just not. So this piece will be up for sale on my website or on my store, digital store. Yeah, I'm rambling because I'm recording the audio secondhand. As I told you, I goofed up and set the recorder to the wrong mic, and that audio is now useless. So, but Hogan's Heroes, please like, subscribe. This was kind of a rambling video. Hope you enjoyed this. Again, my Patreon is up and running. All I'm asking for is $1. I know they say $1 a month, but honestly, I just dig a donation of $1. Just put $1 in the hat. That's all I'm asking for. If I was painting on the side of the street, that's all I'm asking. Is just put $1 in the hat. And everything's now on my Patreon. Everything's public. I'm not doing the tiers. I'm not worried about it. Hopefully, if I do this right, you're going to get a post like 6 days a week. Whether it be a video, podcast, or a post of some art. But thank you. Please like, subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed this painting of Hogan's Heroes. What I'm basically asking is just $1.50. $1.50. That's all I really want. Just throw $1.50. That's the way I see it. Is I'm a painter, a busker, just digital busker. Just all I'm asking for is $1.50. You go to my Patreon, which I probably should know what that is. The link. retooling my Patreon and my websites and all that stuff. But the link will be down below or somewhere where you can click on the links. The links! Follow the links! So I hope you enjoyed this. I'm not as talkative sometimes because I actually need to focus on the painting. But yeah, it's Hogan's Heroes. That's funny. All right, thank you for your time. Hope this brought a smile to your face.